Good people, how are you doing? How are you doing? My name is Justin Evans, and I am checking in here in Young Entrepreneur Studios. We have a very special guest this morning. I can't wait for you guys to join us and listen to this interview. At this time, I need you to share, like, and tag a friend right now. Make sure that you follow the Young Entrepreneurs page. We'll continue to do more interviews just like this. But this morning we have a very special guest. She has a lot of information for you guys, and I hope that you will, have your ears open, have your thumbs ready to share, and get ready for the information. So join us for a small jazz piece, and we'll get started in one moment, guys. Share this video. This song featured on the Love Below album, I believe.
You know what? It sounds like that too. It sounds like
the Andre 3000.
Yeah, you your mom's ex. What you think about that?
All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Once again, my name is Justin Evans. We're checking in here at the Young Entrepreneur Studios, and I have a very special guest this morning. I want you guys to welcome Neonta Williams to the studios. Welcome. No problem. Thank you so much for coming. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I am blessed. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So excited to have you here. And, we've been seeing you, campaigning and canvassing around here. And I just wanted to bring you on the platform so that we can introduce, maybe to my peers, to the younger crowd, a little bit more about, who you are and what you do. And so tell them, who is Neonta Williams?
Oh my gosh, that's complicated. Not really. I feel like I'm just Nene. I'm just Nene. And but my name obviously is Neonta Williams, and originally from Gadsden, came to Birmingham to Miles College over 20 years ago.
Miles College.
And I'm excited. I was blessed when that opportunity came up for me. I earned both a athletic and academic scholarship. I played basketball, which was my primary ride, but I also played volleyball. When you're at Miles, you may do multiple sports.
Definitely.
But it was at Miles College where I was exposed to some of the most incredible people, incredible opportunities that I didn't know God had before me. But, getting the opportunity to be there, I earned a bachelor's degree in social work. Started out working as a substance and alcohol abuse counselor at Pearson Hall on Jefferson Avenue. So really, that was a blessed opportunity as well. It was there that I first encountered someone that was HIV positive in person, in the flesh, right? So back then, it was a lot of talk about preventing HIV and AIDS and never encountering someone who actually had contracted HIV. And I'm sharing that part because after graduating from Miles, working for just a few months, I joined the United States Army. And I worked in preventive medicine and environmental health. And so I actually counseled soldiers who had STDs and HIV and other communicable diseases. Got out the military, came back to Birmingham, and went to UAB, pursued a master's in public administration, and I also started officiating women's college basketball. So that's the start of my story. But in general, Neonta's just Neonta, just a girl from, your cousin, your aunt, somebody that cares about other people.
Most definitely. And I was definitely going to ask you about that, about your background. And it seems that you have a lot of service, in your background. Anything particular in your childhood where that service, kind of started and built a foundation?
That's a really good question. My cousins remind me that I've always been a giver. Even growing up in the neighborhood in Gadsden, a couple of different neighborhoods, like we lived in North Gadsden, but my granny lived. I actually grew up in apartments. And so my granny lived in a community where there were homes. And so it was like a subdivision. And, you see people from different facets, different walks of life. And I've always known, and I was just raised that giving was always better. And so, my heart in my adult life, I understand what my gift is from God. And it is the ministry of helps. And I've been doing that forever. So it just comes naturally for me to be a service to others.
And I see that. And you laid out the background for me. It seems as though you've worked with groups and numerous people, on multiple levels. And so when it comes to, working with the crowd and managing people, that's something that you're gifted at as well.
Yeah, I think so. On the campaign trail, one of the things that I've been saying is that I speak the language of people. So there's this story, and I tell stories from time to time to relate to, not lies, but stories to relate to help people understand a little bit about me. But there's a story of a teacher who was from the southern parts of the states, and she moved to the Midwest. And when she got in her classroom, it was about this time of, well, maybe not this time of the year because it's completely hot right now, but the season was changing. And she asked one of the students to crack the window.
Okay.
And so crack the window in the South means what?
To open up the window.
Open up the window, right. But in the Midwest, crack the window meant literally crack the window. So the student became defiant, like, I'm not cracking no window, like got in trouble, outraged, like this teacher asked me to crack the window. Can you believe this teacher asked me to do that? And so I shared that story because you can be in a different place, but you have to be able to be a chameleon to the people that you're working with, because
major.
It is. And so I think that, I did not know I was going to run. Like, I didn't know 10 years ago I was going to be looking for a seat to public serve in this capacity. I always known that I would be a servant. And so, but I now understand that everything that God has allowed me to do has prepared me for this opportunity to speak the language of the families that I'm working with. So whether it is, me growing up in a single parent household with a very active father, to being a part of the village where other family members helped out, to me working within the prison system, working with the homeless population, incarcerated population, first generation college graduate, like all these different things, ex-military. The dynamics of family are so different today. And so we need leaders, particularly when we talk about the school board, that will understand those families and understand those dynamics as we prepare to take a seat to make decisions about those families.
I totally agree. And there was something that I wanted to connect on, and you made me think about something else. But what was your first initiation, I want to say, into the Birmingham City School District? What was your first initiation into running for council and running for a seat, in our jurisdiction?
Mm-hmm. So my first, I think that's a twofold question. My very first initiation in Birmingham City Schools started back when I was in Miles College.
Okay.
Ensley High School.
Okay.
I said my degree is in social work. I was going to do a minor in education, but that was going to keep me in school a little bit longer than I wanted to. Right. But I started the process. And so I started out as an intern at Ensley High School. Okay. So, that was my first footprint into Birmingham City Schools. And of course, with Miles and Fairfield, we had interactions with Fairfield, but the first real footprint. But what made me at this time decide that I wanted to run for the school board seat. I don't know if you've ever, probably you're a business owner, if you've ever had a burden that wouldn't let you sleep at night.
Yeah. Sometimes, your dreams and passions. Yeah. Some things that do keep you up at night. Yeah. Right. And it'll make you move.
It will make you move. And so I have long since seen that something needed to be done in our K-12 system, not just here in Birmingham, but anywhere in our urban cities for Black children.
Right.
One may almost think it's a conspiracy theory that you can go anywhere in the United States of America and drop yourself in our urban communities and see what's happening or not happening academically.
Right.
I was just looking at television last night, and in Baltimore, Maryland, they're reporting, that the average grade level of the students is a 1.0, like a 1.0 GPA, 1.0.
In Maryland?
In Maryland. That is unacceptable.
That is crazy.
That's unacceptable. And so, and I'm not saying that, that's where we are in Birmingham, but we need help. And so what got me there this time? I was disappointed in how I felt like Birmingham City School leaders reacted to COVID instead of responding.
Okay.
And so, and granted, no one was prepared for COVID, and people still aren't truly prepared for COVID right now, especially as leaders, because it's so fluid and you have to make decisions. But it is during that time that I really started to have a conversation with God about, Lord, I can't sit here with the knowledge that I have and do nothing. Like something has to be done. And so he and I were talking, and so he, fed me triple P's: parents, policy, and partnerships. And so the partnership piece for me, I felt like as strong as Birmingham is as a city, as a community with our 99 neighborhoods, we should be partnering more with our neighborhoods. And I felt like we could have used our faith facilities, our churches, as safe spaces.
Right.
We could have had those partnerships already established for when those needs arise, that we could use them as safe spaces. Not knowing that COVID was going to happen, but already having those relationships built, so that we would have access to those facilities. Because we have our faith community readily available and willing to support.
Right.
The other thing is, I felt like we let those school buses sit dormant for about 1.5 years. We could have taken those buses, placed them into those neighborhoods where children really, really needed access to the internet, needed access to devices, and needed an adult that could be over them. And so take every other seat out that bus. And I still think, and I hope someone hears me and consider using this for this current year that we're in. But take those seats, clearly, please do. But take those seats out of the buses, put hot spots on the buses, and have teachers assigned to the buses where they can go in and they can work with them. Because a lot of our children are being reared by grandparents and great-grandparents.
Right.
And a lot of parents are frontline workers. They're working in the restaurants, they're working in the hospitals, they're working in places where our governor and our local government, deem essential places. So someone has to go to work. Our trash being picked up, all the things that we're concerned about, but no one's thinking about the families. And so that's why that was my, I can't sit here and not do something. We have to do something. And so, I'm not a parent. On top of everything that I'm sharing, I'm not a parent. So that doesn't mean I'm not qualified. It just means I have too much inside of me to want to help others to just sit at home and do nothing with it.
Right. It comes with pride. That's something that I ask a lot of people. What makes you take pride in Birmingham? Some people, may want to start a business and help, circulate the dollar like I did.
Right.
And I know that you've also started your own organization, and I want to get into that as well. Where you may feel like we need to help in education that may help us out in economics, to alleviate the poverty that we have in our community. And so when it comes to the connections and things that we make, sometimes you got to take pride and you got to make a move.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What organization have you started? You talked to me about all the other places that you've been inputted, but what is the organization that you started that's been able to help the community?
So it is Black Alabamians for Education.
Okay.
It is a parent advocacy organization, and our mission is to equip, inform, and empower Black families with information on accessing a high quality K-12 education.
Gotcha.
And so we support traditional public, private, charter, virtual home, and blended school options. It is our position that parents should be knowledgeable about what the state has to offer and then choose for them which choice works the best. But whatever it is, it should definitely be a quality choice.
Awesome. And how can people, follow you guys or get involved with that to get more information?
Sure, thank you. So we do have a website. It is Black AL, 4 edu.org.
Gotcha. Repeat it one more time. Black AL,
4 edu.org, ORG. And that is also all of our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Black AL 4 edu.
Gotcha. And how long has this establishment been going on?
We're 4 years old. June the 29th, we turned 4. We turned 4, yep.
Now, do you have any recent projects or any milestones that you guys have accomplished that you're most proud of?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You are asking all the right questions. I love it too. So we definitely do. So like everybody else, during COVID, when COVID first hit, there had to be a shift, a pivot in what we were doing. Okay. So our work is it is in 3 different streams. So we do mainly equipping and informing. And while we are intentional about engaging Black families, it's inclusive of all. It's inclusive of all. So we one of the things that we do is facilitate parent empowerment sessions. Okay. So this is where we train and teach parents, again, how to be actively engaged and involved in their child's education. One that we do is called Discovering What Makes Your Child Tick. So we teach parents the learning styles of them as adults, and then what's the learning style of their children.
That's very key.
It's so super key.
You gotta know that.
Yes, because every child learns differently. And so I'm sure I am a dominant person. I'm sure I'm a leader. And if I were to have children, I probably would want my children to be the same way. But it's very likely that I could give birth to a child that does not have the same personality as me.
Right.
And so where I'm trying to force my personality style onto this particular child, he or she may be like, whatever, that's not me.
Right.
And so, you know, we try to equip parents with that kind of information so they can better support their children in their academic environment as well as at home. But one of the things that is a milestone for us is when COVID occurred, instead of us being able to go out to facilitate these sessions, what we found is that there were millions of kids across the country and hundreds of thousands in Alabama that did not have access to devices. Nor did they have access to the internet. And this is before the state had the ABC broadband communication resources in place for parents. So what we did was we had a fundraiser and we raised money to actually purchase devices to give away to children across the state of Alabama. It was absolutely nice and it was a blessing. We ended up purchasing all of our devices from Best Buy.
Okay.
And from the young lady that I was working with at Best Buy, she ended up we created a video just thanking the donors, because you want to be accountable to your donors.
Definitely.
So we created a video thanking those donors for their contributions, because we asked people to donate $20. We were trying to raise 20,000, trying to get 1,000 people to donate $20.
Right.
So we raised a little bit, about $6,000, and so we were, and that's great.
Bad,
you know, again, it was a pivot. This is not what we do, but we needed to shift gears to still be able to meet the needs of families. Long of the short, the video was shared with the young lady that was helping me at Best Buy. It went all the way to the CEO of the company. We were extended an invitation to apply for a grant. So we received a grant for $25,000 to purchase more devices. So that is, it is one of the most, I think, you know, that's one of the highlights of what we've been able to do since birthing ourselves. We were just 2.5 years old at the time when that happened. And so here we are, 4 years old, and we've been able to offer blessings like that. And so this time when we wrote the grant, what I did was ask for resources, of course, to purchase additional devices. But from helping my family members with virtual learning, I learned that kids also need their own individual headsets.
Right.
Because if you have multiple children in the household, if they're just listening to what their teachers instructed, everybody is hearing everybody else. Right. So we wrote in the grant to purchase headphones for kids, and then also to purchase hotspots for families who did not have access to the internet in their home. So, you know, just an example of how, again, a servant's heart, trying to help people, you know, seeing a need and trying to fill the gap.
I like that. And I want to ask you this question. Can you just briefly talk about the connection between education and economics? You know, how, you know, empowering our parents first, you know, through education could help change the community.
Yes.
And help us financially and economically as well.
Yes, you are challenging me by saying briefly, because
look, I know we got a lot to cover. I know that topic there can go on for about 2 days. But,
it most definitely can. And I'll say this. One of the things that when you talk about economics, I feel like in our K-12 system, we have created a system of perpetual poverty. So what do I mean? Our students are graduating from high school and they are underprepared. And as family members, we're telling kids, make sure you go to college, go to college, go to college. Well, when they get to college, they are starting out in remedial courses because they were underprepared in K-12.
Gotcha.
So now we're using our free Pell Grant dollars towards courses that do not count towards our degree.
Right.
So now I'm taking a semester and a half or at least a year of 099 courses with my free Pell Grant dollars.
Right.
By the time I get to my core courses that I need, I've exhausted my free Pell Grant dollars.
Right.
So now I'm tapping into student loans.
Right.
No one's talking to me about the type of making sure I don't exhaust all of my student loans. Like they'll say, oh, you qualify for 20,000, but you only need 10, you know, but no one's talking financial literacy. So we're like, oh, well, give me the whole 20.
Right.
So now I am accruing debt, and we haven't talked about career fields. So now I'm choosing a career field in basket weaving. Well, no one hires basket weavers anymore.
Right.
I've graduated from college with my degree and I'm excited, but I have all this debt. So when I get ready to enter into the workforce, if I want to, when we talk about economic freedoms, because that's the whole purpose of an education, to allow you to think freely and participate in economic freedom.
Right.
And now my economic freedom is tied up in debt and student loans. Right. So when I go to purchase a home or a car, all those things are looked at as bad debt, and so I can't, purchase that home that I want to purchase, or I don't even think about purchasing a home because I think I can't afford it.
Right.
So, that is what we're looking at, and we have to break that cycle. And I think it starts with education.
Man, that was a whole mouthful, but man, it shows, because like I said, if you take pride in the community, I think, one of our main issues is us leaving without cleaning it up, leaving without trying to rebuild it. And that also comes a part of, education as well, just teaching you to take pride and love your own. And so as we're on this campaign, let me let the people know first. She's campaigning for the Birmingham City School Board District 2 of Education. And I want to talk a little bit about the campaign. What are some of the strategies that you've been using to reach the people to get all of this information to them?
Mm-hmm. So during my years of working with AIDS Alabama, we did a lot of grassroots organizing, and it was less organizing, more grassroots education, going into our faith-based community, going into, the churches. We would go into schools, but of course I've not chosen, you can't go into schools and technically campaign, but being in the community where the people are has been one of the, the biggest strategies. If you are asking to public serve and to represent people, I think you have to know who you're representing.
Right.
So there hasn't been any territory that I found to be uncharted for me. It doesn't matter, how tall the grass is or how beautiful the grass is. It doesn't matter if someone on the other side of that door doesn't look like me, if the neighborhood may feel unsafe to others. It feels like it's welcoming to me because of I'm going in with a resource. I'm going in to meet with a resolution to what we are dealing with. And so it's simply been, phone banking. I started out, made the announcement back in January on Dr. King's birthday that I was going to run.
Okay.
So for about 2 months, we called over, 4,000 or 5,000 people.
Wow.
Personally, it was really early, but it was just that I wanted to make certain that people heard my name, that they were given an opportunity to hear my heart and know that they could reach out to me if they had questions. And then, of course, once the weather broke and it got warmer, we started canvassing. We started knocking on doors. Of course, you have to use social media as a strategy. You have to use conversations, your faith-based community, anyone that's willing to listen, especially as a first-time candidate.
And I was going to ask you about that. All of those organizations that you've participated in and poured your heart into, have you had their support and their backing throughout this journey? So
it's funny, yes, the short answer is yes. Just a couple of weekends ago, a Greater Birmingham Ministry hosted an Elect Fest downtown. It was the first ever. It was very successful, but I was proud to see your organizations out there like AIDS Alabama, Greater Birmingham Ministry, Women's Voter League, all these different organizations. Of course, the staff is not the same from when I was working with them, 10, 15 years ago, but to go and have those historical conversations about what we used to do, it was really exciting. And, to know that they're still out there doing what they do. So yes, once they heard, oh, you used to work here, like, wow, that's cool. Like, that makes sense. And so I have had the support of those groups.
Right. And look, I guess it would bring, smiles to them, just understanding that, hey, you never know that where this journey of serving can lead you.
Yes.
So you just gotta make that move.
Yep.
And what are some of your goals, for District 2 in the Birmingham City School Board of Education?
So as I said, my platform is parents, policy, and partnerships. Parents,
policy, and partnership. Remember that, guys.
Yes, parents, policy, and partnerships. And I want to say, if I can just shout out the schools in the District 2. So in District 2, we have 6 schools. We have Martha Gaskins Elementary, Robinson Elementary, W.J. Christian, Huffman Middle, Putnam Middle, and I see where Mitchell Middle. And my primary goal is to increase parental engagement and involvement. I think that if we can increase the likelihood and the opportunities for parents to be engaged and to know, for me, it's about academics. Like everything else is cute and fluffy and it sounds good. And I know we have to do some things to incentivize, to bring people out and to encourage the students, as we should. But the main thing, I live by marry the vision, date the plan.
Marry the vision, date the plan.
The vision is that students graduate from high school, college, and or career ready. Doesn't mean they're going to go to college. Doesn't mean they're going to start right off into a career field, but it means they're ready.
They're ready. Gotcha.
And how we get there, it can be multifaceted because every specific school comes with its own set of nuances. Everything is different. Every community is different.
Right.
So, but what doesn't change is the need for parents to be engaged and involved.
The vision never changes.
It never changes. So, when I look at that, one of the first things I want to do within the first 45 days or 90 days of being elected, and we'll have a parent symposium. It's like a parent summit, like where we have these professional conferences and we go in and we have these breakout sessions. I am going to offer the same thing for parents so that they can know how to read those standardized exams. When their babies take those exams, they come home. What does this mean? Understanding IEPs. And I know this may be something that the district is already offering, but depending on who it's coming from, it has a little bit different flavor. People are more likely to be involved. And because of the families that I've met and engaged with, I know that they will be receptive to participating in something like that.
Do you speak their language?
I speak their language.
And that's what it's all about.
That's it.
Do you speak their language? And I wanted to ask you this. I'm looking, at, is it more PTA meetings? I know you said about the symposiums, but I'm looking at this in the community. Do you see that there may be a lack of resources as far as community centers, active community centers that have programs that will be able to kind of help along with your plan, as well as the faith-based communities as well? Could the church and the community rec centers kind of co-align with your plan to kind of help speed up the process of bettering our education system?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I think there in some communities across the city of Birmingham, there's definitely a lack of resources in the community as it relates to that. But I think it is more of a lack of transparency.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is like currently the Birmingham Board of Education offers a number of programs. Like the summer enrichment programs they had this summer, they had 3,900 students participate in the summer enrichment program. And that sounds great, right? That's like, everybody's like, wow, that's awesome, right? It is if you just hear that number. But if you hear that we have 23,000 students in Birmingham City Schools, it's like, man, that's just a drop in the bucket. Right. And what I think it is that parents don't realize that their children need to be in those programs. Right. So if we can create and have those conversations about why they need to participate, not that we're just offering it for it because it's something for them to do, but they need to, because our current board is reporting that our students are 2 and 3 grade levels behind. And this is pre-COVID. So we're not talking about, the educational loss, the learning loss that has occurred during COVID. We're talking about pre-COVID. Right. Only God knows what during COVID is. And we know there's probably a significant amount there. So if parents understand, because I think what parents have a tendency to do is read the report card and see the alphabet grades, right? Like A, B, C, D, F. In elementary, maybe E for excellent. Right. But they're looking at that and they're saying, well, my child is passing or my child is doing well. But what the real question is, what's the comprehension level? Are they able to comprehend? Are they able to articulate what they have learned? So when it comes to our standardized exams, our students are underperforming on the standardized exams. And so for us to be able to say to parents, this is why I need you to sign Neonta up for this summer enrichment program, for this after school care program, for the program that the church has to offer. I think when we start to have those, because I do not know a parent, Justin, that is okay with their child failing.
I want to bring this up because I know it occurred when I was in high school. You look at the ACT test and I think the highest score at Midfield High School where I went, I think the highest score was a 26 maybe. I'm not going to throw no shade at the person that scored a 26 because she was very smart. I think it may have been a 24 or a 26. Mm-hmm. But then when I got to Birmingham Southern my freshman year, people were mad that they had a 26. I would have been shouting, to Jesus if I had a 26. But, people were mad for having a 28 and a 29. And they were coming from these over the mountain schools. And so it kind of, shows how, I am smart at Midfield, but am I smart at Vestavia or Hoover?
And that's the thing, like, I hear two things out of your sharing. One is, to your point, like, am I as smart as, but if I haven't been exposed to it, if we create a culture of excellence, right, and we don't measure ourselves against one another, then how much greater could we be? And I think that's part of one of our challenges.
I understand that. Yeah.
Even here in the city, we're like, well, we'll compare one school to another. But we're talking about competing worldwide on an international level. And whether you think you're going to compete on an international level or not, you are.
Right.
Even if we have Amazon coming here. We have Hyundai, Toyota, Mazda, all of these, international car, companies here in the state of Alabama.
Right.
And when young people or people in general are employed at those places, they're working with folks from outside the country.
Right.
And so, if you are to apply for positions, and again, the idea is that you have the freedom to think and economic freedom. And so it's a major difference. And so, so I think the second piece that I wanted to say just around that is we have to know that just because of where you are, it doesn't mean that you can't do better. And that's one of the challenges I think we have here in Birmingham is exposing our students to others.
Right.
And to other opportunities. Our kids don't get to take tours, visits around the city. If you, one of the things about, and you asked this question earlier about, what gives you pride about Birmingham. And I've said this before, like I'm from Gadsden, where we didn't have very many Black people who worked in public positions. And I'm not talking about public service. I'm talking about your Alabama Power. At the time, it was Allegasco, but now with Spire, we had one African-American who worked at the gas company in Gadsden.
Wow.
And I am inclined to believe we still only have one. But my point is, when I came to Birmingham and just driving from Gadsden to Birmingham to Miles College in Fairfield through downtown Birmingham, I'm seeing people who look like me in really nice cars, in Fairfield, living in really nice homes.
Yeah.
Doing amazing. And I had not seen that before, but
Right.
had I not been exposed to something to know that, wait a minute, people like me that look like me have these same opportunities.
Right.
And so I think not being from Birmingham makes me want to go even harder for Birmingham, because sometimes I feel like the people in Birmingham don't realize what they have here and what we have here and what our history is. I mean, people from, if you have a lunch one day and you just want to go downtown by the Civil Rights Institute and hang out,
Street, yeah.
listen, by 16th Street, you see buses of people driving in from all across the country, foreigners and alike, who are visiting Birmingham.
Right.
They're coming here and being inspired, and we have access to that every single day. I have to watch my tone because I get a little bit excited.
I was going to make a joke. You took it out of my mouth. You said foreigners, but I was going to say every time I drive past there, the people that are visiting are of lighter descent than I am.
Yes. Yes.
But they come by the busloads, and you're right. We have to take more pride in it. And you kind of led into my next question. I want to keep this fire coming, guys. You've already told us, the plans that you have, policies that you would like to initiate, but what can Birmingham expect from Neonta Williams? Just describing you in words.
Yeah.
We already see the fire, but I just want you to describe, what can we expect? That person from Gadsden, who has seen something different, and like you said, they're ready to go hard.
So there's a silent P in my triple Ps, and it's presence.
Gotcha.
Like visibility, being there, a genuine visibility. I've had, even on this campaign trail, I've had people tell me there's been some groundbreaking events over in my on the eastern side of town with Huffman, and there was both. I think both at Huffman. We had Huffman High School and Huffman Middle. There was wasn't Huffman. It was Woodlawn and Huffman Middle. And so folks were like, well, you should just show up and just be there. And that's no indictment on the people who gave me those recommendations, but I feel like that's not genuine to me. I feel like it would be a political show up. My presence is literally where the parents are in the community encouraging them. I've had people ask me, can I call you Mrs. Clark from Lean On Me instead of Mr. Clark? Like, you're the hype person. And I want to be an encourager. Sometimes we just need to see somebody that look like us to let us know it's going to be all right. So if nothing else, it's going to be the energy, the positivity, definitely a praying person. I through prayer, I know we can change and do a lot of things. And so I think my presence is going to attract folks who maybe have lost hope about what can be done, maybe have lost energy. And I mean that for our teachers, for our educators, for our leaders. I've ran into some leaders. I've been volunteering with the Safe Passages program with the Birmingham Police Department. There's a triple action between the Housing Authority, Police Department, and the Mayor's office where we create safe pathways for kids who are going to school at Huffman Middle. And the idea is to grow, not Huffman, but Hayes, K8. And so the idea is that we walk the children safely from their front doorsteps to school.
Near the projects.
Yes,
Okay.
where
Yeah,
unfortunately Cupcake was the area where Cupcake was kidnapped from, and we all know that story. But we're trying to create safe pathways, and so. But I watch the body language of the teachers coming into the buildings in the morning, and it's just not. It's not the right energy. And I understand people are tired, they're exhausted, they're apathetic. And I think as a leader, as a public servant, we play a huge role in that.
Right.
We can do some things to inspire our teachers, to encourage them, and to let them know absolutely that we're there for them. So that's what they can expect from me. And of course, talking.
Good. And you're gonna have somebody that's for you, and by your side.
Yeah.
I appreciate this interview, and I appreciate you for taking out your time. I've learned a lot, and I've definitely learned a lot about you. One thing I do just want to give you, some kudos while we're on camera. Just being able to relate to you, and I see that the people they will be able to relate to you. Sometimes when I see people that get in certain positions, they start using words and things that you. That you haven't heard since your senior year in college, but just being able to relate to the people, I think that they will help you and help you to continue to bridge that gap that we do need within our economic and education community. Do you have any more encouraging words for any other social workers out there, or any other young women out there that may want to run for office? Or
well, thank you, first of all, for this opportunity, and thank you for, the accolades and reminding me that I am relatable. That is, at my core, I know my name is Neonta, but my nickname is Nene. Like, I'm just Nene. I am just, I believe in people. I have always been an encourager. I've always wanted to see people become their best version of themselves. Sometimes you hear people say that and they really don't mean that. But I mean, I'm open to helping, a prominent person to a stranger, a known person to an unknown person, because I think every person matters. And you asked me about closing comments. I say this every time I finish speaking or as I'm closing out. But if you could visualize an apple, and if you cut that apple open, you can count the seeds in the apple, but you can't count the apples in the seed. And so when I think about, I know, write it down. You can count the apples in the seed. I'm sorry, you can count the seeds in the apple, but you can't count the apples in the seed.
Man, that's some of the best
simple
I've ever heard. That's amazing. And you just can't count people out, at that point. You just never know.
You can't count them out. We can't count the purpose in them. We don't know what God has put inside of us and what's supposed to come out. Like, we don't know. We didn't know that from a tree we were going to get pencils, paper, beds, nightstands, chairs, everything else that has come from wood. Like, we don't know. And so if we were to stop at just, this is just a tree, what would we be missing out on?
Yeah.
And so that's how I feel about, and I'm turning to the camera, because that's how I feel about your children. That's how I feel about the future of Birmingham. And I think it is time for us to have someone who absolutely believes in your children. I want you to hear my heart and to know this is the energy that I'm coming from. I would do whatever I can for you and your children to ensure that they accomplish and become everything that God has designed for them to be. Right now, the population of students that we have in Birmingham City Schools represent about maybe 15 to 17% of the population of Birmingham, but they are 100% of our future. One of your children possesses the cure for cancer. And the thing is that, if you know God like I do, then I know this is probably not like a spiritual thing, but everything that he created in the beginning. It's already here. It already exists. It's just a matter of time when it manifests itself and come out. And so, we are now dealing with You know, we got cell phones and Wi-Fi and all this other stuff. But truth be told, if the visionary had brought it forward 50 years ago, it would have been out 50 years ago. It just happened to come out in this fullness of time. And so I'm saying that your children possess so much inside of them. It does not matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you live in a situation that someone else may be looking down on or someone looking up to. It still doesn't matter. There's something bright and brilliant inside of every last one of our children. And so they deserve an advocate. That's all I'm gonna say right now.
Hey, and guys, they deserve Neonta Williams for District 2, Birmingham City School Board of Education. Guys, I hope that you have been wild today. I've learned a lot. Like I said, learned a lot about you as well. And definitely somebody that the people can relate to. I see a lot of these candidates and it's like, you can't even speak. How are you gonna be able to relate to the people and run a community? But I love that about you. You have to be a people person to do this type of business. So I hope that you guys will go out on August the 24th and vote. Make sure that you vote, share, tag a friend in this video, like the video. My name is Justin Evans. I'm checking in from the Young Entrepreneur Studio. I had a wonderful time with Neonta Williams today. Peace, love, and blessings to you all. And we'll see you guys next time.